You're a kid from the neighborhood. Maybe you grew up 2 blocks from the social club. Maybe your uncle used to run numbers for the crew back in the 70s. Or maybe you had no connection at all. You just watched. You watched the way the men on the corner carried themselves. The way they walked slow when everyone else walked fast. The way a restaurant would go quiet when they walked in. Not from fear exactly, but from a kind of weight. Like gravity itself rearranged around them. You watched the cars, the jewelry, the way a man in a tracksuit could say 3 words and make a city councilman sweat through his shirt. You wanted that. Not just the money, not just the cars. You wanted the posture, the sense that you occupied space differently than everyone else. So you started showing up. You didn't ask for anything. You didn't introduce yourself as someone with ambition. Smart move, by the way, and because ambition, worn openly in this world, is a liability. You just appeared. You were there when they needed coffee. You were there when the Cadillac needed washing. You ran to the deli. You fetched cigarettes. You carried boxes you were told not to open, and you kept your mouth shut. That last part is the whole test. Everything else is noise. They don't care how fast you run to the deli. They don't care how well you wash the car. They care about one thing. Can you be in the presence of things you're not supposed to know, and act like you heard nothing? Because in this life, information is the most dangerous currency there is. A man who talks too much isn't just annoying. He is a weapon pointed at everyone in the room. So they watch you. Every single second. They watch whether you flinch when the wrong thing gets said at the card table. They watch whether you make eye contact with the cop who parks outside. They watch whether you call your girlfriend after a long night and let something slip just because you want to feel important. You are being evaluated by people who have spent their entire lives reading other people. And most of those people are now either dead or in federal prison because they misread someone. So the bar is extraordinarily high, and here's the cruel part. You're doing all of this for free. You are absorbing all of the risk and receiving none of the reward. If the cops kick the door in, you are the one they throw in the back of the car while the men who actually run things disappear out the rear exit. You don't complain. You don't ask when the arrangement changes. You just absorb it. That is the audition. And most people fail it. Not because they do something dramatic, not because they steal or lie or betray someone in a way that can be pointed at. They fail it because they're just slightly too eager, slightly too loud, slightly too in love with the idea of who they're becoming. The ones who pass, they forget about the idea. They just do the work. And one day, without announcement, everything changes. Level 2. The associate. You passed. Not because anyone announced it. Not because there was a ceremony or a handshake or a formal elevation. One day, a soldier, maybe the guy whose coffee you've been fetching for 8 months, looks at you differently. He gives you a number to call. He tells you to be at a specific corner at a specific time, and just like that, your life reorganizes itself. You are now an associate. You are not in the family. That distinction matters enormously, and you will be reminded of it constantly, mostly through the invisible texture of how people treat you. But you are with the family. You work alongside them. You are part of the machinery. And the machinery has an immediate, very specific use for you. Your days are now structured around the hustle. You're moving stolen cargo, truckloads coming out of the airport that contain electronics, cigarettes, clothing, sometimes things you're better off not cataloging mentally. You're running a sports book, taking bets from barbers, construction workers, the dry cleaning owner on the corner who has had a gambling problem since 1987. You're collecting. You're delivering. You are doing the dirty work that creates the money that flows upward. And it does flow upward. Every dollar you generate has a tax on it before it ever touches your pocket. You kick up. Every week you take a portion of everything you've earned. And we're talking a serious portion, not a tip. And you put it in an envelope and you hand it to your sponsor. The soldier who vouched for you. Who put his name on the line for you. If you earn $10,000, maybe 3 of it goes in that envelope. Maybe 4. And here's the thing that breaks most people when they first understand it. There is no negotiation. There is no conversation where you explain that your week was hard. The envelope is the envelope. It is the price of the protection you are receiving. It is the rent on your ability to operate at all. And if you hold out, if you skim, if you think you can shave a few hundred off the top and no one will notice, you are not just stealing from your sponsor. You are stealing from the entire structure above him all the way up to the boss. And the penalty for that is not a warning. It is you, in a car trunk, on the way to a construction site. So you pay. You pay and you earn more to compensate. And you get smarter about your operations and you keep your head down. And when the FBI starts following you, and they will start following you because associates are sloppy by necessity, hunger makes you visible, you do not panic. You behave exactly the same way you have always behaved. Same routes, same faces, same silence. And if they do arrest you, if they build a case, bring you in and offer you a deal, you look the prosecutor in the eye and you say nothing. You do your time, you come out. And in that silence, in that demonstrated willingness to swallow years of your life rather than betray the people above you, you have given the family something more valuable than any envelope. You have given them proof. And proof, in this world, is the only currency that never loses its value. Level 3. The senior associate. Years have passed, maybe a decade. You have been arrested twice. You did a 3-year stretch in state prison where, if anything, you made yourself more useful. You connected with crews from other territories. You learned things. You carried information back with you when you walked out. You have not talked. Not once. Not when they offered reduced time. Not when they implied they could make things difficult for your family. Not even when they put you in a room with someone you trusted and that person turned out to be cooperating. You said nothing. You burned the relationship without making a scene. And nobody outside that room knows that you know, because that's the level you're operating at now. You don't react. You don't confront. You file information quietly and you wait. Patience in this world is not a virtue. It is a weapon. You are now on record with a captain. You belong to his crew. And that means that if someone from another family tries to move in on your operations, tries to intimidate you, tries to use you as leverage, your captain steps in. He's with me. 3 words that function as a legal brief, a threat, and a property deed simultaneously. You are in the language of this world spoken for. But this is also when the scrutiny intensifies to a degree most people don't anticipate. Because the next step, the step being quietly discussed in rooms you are not in, requires something that cannot be manufactured or purchased or earned through years of loyal service. It requires bloodline. You must be of Italian descent on your father's side. 100%. They check. They go back through your family history with a thoroughness that would impress most genealogists. Not out of cultural sentimentality, but because the rules of the commission require it, and because those rules have kept the structure intact through federal prosecutions that destroyed almost everything else. One deviation and the answer is no. And no in this context is permanent. Beyond bloodline, they look at your associations. Your cousin is a police officer? Problem. Your brother cooperated in an unrelated case 10 years ago? Problem. You are being evaluated not as an individual, but as a network. Every connection you have is a potential vulnerability, and they are stress testing all of them before they let you inside. This is the moment where men who have given a decade of their lives discover that one thing they cannot control, a relative, a bloodline, a cousin's career choice, ends everything. And there is no appeal. Then one day someone tells you to wear something nice. That's it. That's all they say. And you understand exactly what it means. Level 4. The ceremony. You walk into a room. It might be a basement. It might be the back of a restaurant after closing. The atmosphere is unlike anything else in this world. Formal, in a way that has no comparison outside these walls. There is a gun on the table. There is a picture of a saint. Someone explains the rules. The rules are simple, absolute, and you will carry them for the rest of your life. Then they prick your trigger finger. Your blood falls on the saint. The picture burns. You entered this life the way you will leave it, with fire. Level 5. The soldier. On paper, you are the lowest rank inside the structure. In practice, you are separated from everything below you by a wall that is essentially metaphysical. No civilian can touch you. No associate can touch you without answering for it with their life. No member of another family can harm you without first receiving permission from the Commission, the governing body of organized crime in America. You are untouchable in the specific, structural, legally enforced by violence sense of that word. You have a crew now, associates who work for you. They earn, and a portion flows to you, and a portion of that flows up to your captain, and the whole structure breathes with the rhythm of this exchange. Up and up and up. You don't break the windows anymore. You send someone. You don't collect the debt personally. You send someone. But there are moments when the distance collapses completely. When the boss says a particular problem needs to be permanently resolved, you are still a soldier. You grab the bag. You handle it. And then you go home and eat dinner. Level 6. The enforcer. Not every soldier rises through the ranks on the strength of their business instincts or diplomatic skills. Some men have a talent that is darker, more specific, and considerably more valuable in moments of crisis. You are one of those men. You are the mechanism that keeps the entire financial structure honest. When someone owes money and has decided, through some catastrophic miscalculation, that they simply are not going to pay, you are the argument that changes their mind. You understand how to make fear function as a financial instrument. You understand timing and escalation. The specific way a warning needs to be calibrated so it lands correctly. And when things go beyond warnings, you have a different set of skills. You know which construction projects are pouring foundations this week. You know how to make a person stop existing in the documentary record of the world. These skills are not incidental to the organization. They are foundational to it. You are, in the purest economic sense, load-bearing. But there is a cost, not a financial cost, a human one. You carry something that other men in the crew do not carry. Something that sits in the room with you at dinner. Something that follows you into the confession booth if you still go. Something that makes your children look at you in a way you can't quite interpret. The men who use you need you absolutely. They rely on you completely. They just don't want to look at you for too long. And you have learned to be comfortable with that. Level 7. The acting capo. Your captain has a problem, maybe a federal indictment, maybe surveillance so aggressive he cannot leave his house without a convoy of FBI vehicles behind him, maybe a medical situation serious enough to pull him off the street for months. Whatever the reason, the crew cannot run itself, and he trusts you more than he trusts anyone else in that room. He points at you. You are now the acting capo. Let's be precise about what this means and what it doesn't mean. It means you are running the crew, holding the meetings, settling the disputes, collecting the envelopes, relaying orders from above. What it doesn't mean is that the seat is yours. Everyone in the room knows the seat isn't yours. The captain knows. The boss knows. And they are watching not just whether you can perform the job, but whether you will remember that you are performing it in someone else's chair. This is one of the most psychologically demanding positions in the entire hierarchy, because the incentives are deliberately contradictory. You need to run the crew well enough that the money keeps flowing and the captain stays satisfied. But if you demonstrate too much genuine leadership ability, if the crew starts to feel more loyal to you than to the captain, you have just made yourself dangerous. And dangerous in this world has a very specific resolution. You have to be excellent without appearing excellent. You have to lead without appearing to want to lead. Level 8. The captain. The acting title is gone. The seat is yours. You are the capo. You run a crew of somewhere between 8 and 15 made men, and a considerably larger network of associates spread across your territory. A section of Brooklyn, a stretch of waterfront, a cluster of construction contracts and union relationships. You are, by any honest analysis, a mid-level executive in a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and you manage like one. You don't touch the product. You don't carry weapons. You don't make collections personally. You manage. Your days are structured around movement, never stationary long enough for surveillance to get comfortable. You meet soldiers in shopping mall parking lots, on park benches, in the back of dry cleaning businesses. They give you envelopes. You give them direction. You are the translator between the world above and the world below, and your primary value is keeping both sides of that translation clean. You are also the judiciary. When two of your soldiers have a dispute over money, territory, or a perceived slight, they bring it to you. You hear both sides. You decide. Your decision is not subject to appeal below your level. But none of this matters if the envelope to the boss runs thin. You have a number. Every week a package goes up. That package has to be within range. Always. If the package is consistently thin, the boss does not call a meeting. He does not issue a warning. He makes a different kind of appointment, and you know exactly what kind. Level 9. The messenger. This is a position that doesn't appear on any organizational chart and isn't acknowledged in most prosecutorial documents, which is precisely why it functions so effectively. You are the diplomat. The families need to coordinate constantly, but the bosses cannot meet. Every handshake at that level generates a photograph and a case number, so they send you. You travel. You memorize. You deliver messages that were never written and repeat conversations that were never recorded. You negotiate resolutions to situations that, if mishandled by anyone less skilled, would result in bodies in the street and 100 FBI agents working 16-hour days. You prevented 3 wars. Nobody will ever know. When a soldier from one family develops a personal situation involving the wife of a soldier from a different family, you are the one who finds the arrangement that everyone can live with, literally. You need to be trusted absolutely by men who trust almost no one. This is not a position you apply for. It is a position you are recognized for. Level 10. The consigliere. There are 3 men at the top: the boss, the underboss, and you. You hold no territory. You command no crew. You do not manage daily operations. What you have is the most valuable and most dangerous thing in the entire structure: the boss's ear, and the permission to fill it with things he doesn't want to hear. Every other person in the hierarchy is calibrated, consciously or not, toward telling the boss what he wants to be told. You are the one person for whom the incentives are aligned with accuracy. You tell him when the plan has a flaw. You tell him when the captain he wants to execute has done nothing wrong, and the boss is operating on bad information fed by someone with an agenda. You tell him when the FBI pressure has reached a level that requires strategic adjustment rather than defiance. And you are listened to. Not because you are beloved, but because the boss understands that in a world where everyone tells him what he wants to hear, you are the one signal in all the noise. You are also the architect of the organization's legal insulation. You understand RICO. You structure things to make the government's reach as difficult as possible. Level 11. The underboss. You are the operational reality of the entire organization. The boss is the vision. You are the execution. Every captain in the family reports through you. Every envelope from every crew passes through your accounting. Every dispute that rises above the captain level lands on your desk. You are the chief operating officer of an organization generating hundreds of millions of dollars annually across labor racketeering, construction, gambling, loan sharking, and a dozen other revenue streams. And you perform this function while being the primary target of every federal investigation aimed at the family. The prosecutors understand the architecture. They know that convicting the boss requires penetrating multiple layers of insulation, so they start with you. Every conversation you have is a potential exhibit. Every meeting is photographed. You have adapted your communication to a degree that most people in legitimate business cannot comprehend. No phones, no paper, no patterns a surveillance team can predict. And still the exposure is enormous. You are also the heir apparent. Everyone knows it. Every captain who believes he could run things better is running a quiet calculation about you. Every single morning. Level 12. The boss. Capo. Di tutti capi. You made it. Survived that sentence for a moment. You made it. Through the years of running errands and keeping your mouth shut. Through the arrests and the prison time. Through the violence, the loyalty tests, the constant grinding awareness that the people closest to you are also the people most capable of destroying you. You are here. You sit at the head of the table. And you are a ghost. Your operational distance from any individual crime is so vast that prosecutors spend years building cases and still cannot reach you directly. You don't hold money. You don't issue instructions in any form that can be recorded. You sit with your underboss and you have a conversation that contains nothing prosecutable. And 72 hours later, a problem that was threatening the stability of your organization resolves itself permanently. You have total power, and you have no peace, not a single day of it. Your best friend wants your chair. The FBI has a dedicated squad whose entire purpose is your destruction. There is no retirement. There is no walking away. You stay on the throne until you leave it, in a hospital bed, in a prison cell, or on the pavement outside a restaurant with the city making its ordinary sounds around you and the lights going out. You chose this life, back when you were invisible, back when you were fetching coffee and learning the discipline of silence. You chose it, and the life chose you back.